The Honorable Keith Bass is the Assistant Secretary of War for Health Affairs. In this role, he is the Principal Advisor to the Secretary of War and the Undersecretary of War for Personnel and Readiness for all Department of War health and force health protection policies, programs, and activities. Please welcome Mr. Keith Bass.
Good morning. All right. Good morning, MHS. Good morning. Welcome to Texas. Thank you for being here this morning. To echo some of the remarks that Secretary Tata said, I want to just give a quick shout out to the entire team that made this possible. I was getting a briefing on this last week, and they were just kind of going through the logistics, and they said, Mr. Bass, we narrowed it down we had over 1,000 topics, and we narrowed it down to 82. We got the Surgeons General roundtable that we're going to do. We have a phenomenal guest speaker that's going to speak here in just a little bit. They put together a rock star program for you guys for the next 2 days. And I just want to say thank you for that, and thank you for the effort that went into this. Also want to say thank you, because I don't do this enough, but I want to recognize our leaders that make all this possible. Darren Vi, DHA, Mary Izagari, my good friend, JJ DeGoes, Rick Freeman, the Navy Surgeon General. I know General Clint Murray could not be here today. Guido Valdez, our TMO, and our senior enlisted leaders. None of this is possible without them, and I thank them for their leadership and their support, because they're a backbone of what's happening in MHS today. I'm going to, similar to Secretary Tata, I'm going to drive the speechwriters crazy. I have like a 20-page written remarks, and we're going to forego that this morning. I think I got about 30 minutes yet. Matt Case is clapping over here, so thank you, Matt. So I'm going to forego that. I'll talk about some priorities that we have. But before I do that, I just want to say that yesterday afternoon I had to go to, I didn't have to, but I went to the reception, saw a lot of colleagues, a lot of old friends. And there was one individual, he used to be my neighbor in Guam. He would mow his yard, then I would have to mow mine because my wife had gone on me about not mowing. And he was a nurse. I'm a recovering MSC. And I haven't seen him in 20 years. And I saw him. And I went up to him to give him a hug. And he goes, "Don't start anything, Keith, because I have stories and pictures, and I'm not afraid to use them." And I'm like, you know what? It's good to see you, my friend. Where's Craig Malloy? Is he in here? Craig. All right. You never make an admiral, I'll tell you that. You're a good friend, man. Thank you. It made my day to see you and catch up with you. And that's what we're here for, right? This is one of the things that we do these is because we get to network, we get to catch up, and we get to have these good discussions. I will tell you, no surprise, the MHS is one of the largest, most complicated health systems that we have. 9.5 million beneficiaries, $68 billion budget, 130,000 military and civilian employees, a global reach. To what Dr. Ferrer always says is we're the only ones that go to war. We have a very, very unique mission set here. Most people say that our mission is to provide high-quality health care to our 9.5, 9.6 million beneficiaries. But our mission is readiness. Our mission is to support the warfighter. And that's what we're going to focus on over the next couple of days, and that's what we're going to talk about. And that leads into the next point. I've been in this position for 5 months. I got here in January. I think it was the 4th day I got called down the hallway. I had to have the military aide show me where to go, and they had called all the assistant secretaries together, and they sat down and they said, we're going to do a strategy session here. And here's the question. What prevents us right now from supporting Secretary of War's national defense strategies? What's preventing MHS from supporting Secretary of War? I'd only been there just a few days, so I took that back. And then over the next 5 months, I did what we call military tourism. I went around to some of the MTFs, and I met with a lot of our key leaderships. I met with our service surgeon generals, and I talked about, hey, what are those things? And here's what I got. 7 or 8 things that I'll talk to you about over the next few minutes. And Sierra, make sure I don't exceed the word count, because I know I just have 30 minutes, and you guys have a break. But when you go to the MTFs and you ask the senior leaders, the enlisted leaders, the staff that are taking care of our patients every day, what are those things? How can I help? How can I support? But more importantly, what's preventing us from supporting our true mission here? Any guesses on, there's 2 top. I could tell you what the 2 top is, 2 top requirements before I even walked in the room. Before I even asked the question, I'd bet Steve's paycheck on it that these 2 would come up every time. You got it. Yeah, money and staffing. Have you heard this briefing before? No? Okay, just 2 times maybe. Yeah, it's money and staffing. And that goes to the comment that was over here a little earlier about staffing. So the first thing is what we'll talk about is funding. I will tell you within my role as Assistant Secretary of War for Health Affairs, my job is to advocate for everybody in this room and for the military health system to ensure that we have adequate level of funding. We know that healthcare costs increase every year. We know that pharmaceutical costs increase every year. We know that cost of medical care in general is high. And so how do we continue to sustain our current operations? We talked about we have a little over 700 or 800 facilities. We have 130,000 people. We have a no-fail mission. So how do we sustain that with funding? Every year, we work with DHA and our senior leaders. Obviously, we POM for what we think our projected costs are going to be, but we have to absorb mandated programs. We have to absorb deployment costs. We have to factor in what are all these purchased care costs in the civilian sector. 65% of all of our care is out in the civilian sector, so we have to figure all that in. And one of the last questions that got asked by Mr. Tata was, how is that relationship with your congressional partners? It's absolutely vital. So what we do as senior leaders, we have to go and we have to work with OMB, we have to work with our comptrollers, we have to work with our congressional partners, we have to lay out what our requirements are, and then we factor all that in. And obviously, FY26 is already finished. We've already been in discussions with FY27. We're going to focus on some staffing here in a little bit. We got some other things that I'll talk about in a few minutes that we're going to focus on. But we will continue to advocate for the right level of funding that we have. Mr. Tata is very well. He gets briefed on where we need to be at and what our gaps are, and then we fill that in. The staffing piece. Yes, we have about 130,000. We're about 28,000 short. The answer is, Mr. Bass, we just need to hire more civilians. We're working with the services to make sure that we have the right military, the right uniform folks that are in. Every time I go to the MTFs, we talk about, not having the right replacements. We have to continually make sure that we have the right people in the right place at the right time to ensure that we fulfill our mission for readiness and serving our beneficiaries. So I talked with Admiral Vi, we do have a UMD, we are working toward that, and the problem is, or one of the challenges that we have to face is that In civilian sector, when I worked for the VA, I could hire a nurse or a doctor and I can onboard them in probably about 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Here in DOD, DOW, it takes a little longer. This is not something that you can just buy your way out of. This takes a progressive plan to make sure that we have we bring the right folks on board at the right times, and so we'll continue to do that. Number 3, the third priority, or the third thing that I heard is, any guesses? Facilities. We have a little over 3,000 buildings, 84 million square feet of facilities. Most of our facilities are how old? 40 years old, and so we have an aging infrastructure. This is no different than what the VA has, and we have probably about $17 billion in repair that we have to do. See, this is a reoccurring requirement for us, and so we have to make sure we owe it to our patients, and we owe it to the staff in this room and to the staff in the MTFs to make sure that we have a solid plan for fixing these facilities, and we rack and stack and we prioritize. Whenever I go to the MTF, they always want to take you on the tour, and the first thing I'll say is, don't show me the bright and shiny or something that we just painted. Tell me what's broke. What's not working that we need to take a look at? And this goes back to, we just flew out to Germany. We visited the new Landstuhl Hospital and trying to get that build going, and because that's Mr. Secretary Tatus, one of his priorities. But facilities has to be a problem. Deferring maintenance on these facilities is deferring risk, and we cannot continue to do that. So we're putting together a plan to make sure that we have a process in place. 5? Really? Okay. Okay, so I just got this on. I got 5 minutes. So I'm going to go real quick here. DOD, VA, we're working. I just signed a memo that allows cross-credentialing military members, military clinicians with VA clinicians, or reciprocal credentialing and privileging. We're going to move full speed ahead on that. We just signed a memo to exempt in-kind like services reimbursement. So now we can share services without worrying about reimbursement. We're also, Mr. Tata talked a little bit about seamless transfer, that transition. All the folks for the VA come from one location. All the VA patients come from one location. Where? Comes from DOD. So we have to work on this transition. And one of my pet peeves is, Mr. Bass, we're going to do a warm handoff from DOD to VA. When I hear that, what I just heard was, I had it, you got it. And I will submit to you that for us, when a military member has a status change and go to a VA, we still have responsibility. We still have an obligation to support those individuals. And it should be from the time that you raise your right hand and you enlist to the time that you finish with the VA, and everything in the middle, we should be working together. Skills and training, we talked a little bit about that. Mr. Tata did. We have to continue to make sure, yes, we talk about the Walker dip, and I think Admiral Vine and I had a thesis level discussion in the Admiral's Lounge one day about this. Yeah, we talk about, yes, we have to have that peacetime effect, and we have to mitigate that. But you don't fight the next war like you fight the last war. There's variations in there. We have to adapt. We have to make sure that we're ready and we're prepared, and it should be a steady state of readiness. And so we're working we have Kaiser Permanente doing brain surgery, bringing their patients over to Walter Reed to do brain surgery. We're working with the El Paso VA to do sets and reps. So we have a lot of military-civilian partnerships, so we're going to continue to do that. Combat Support Agency. Secretary Ward made this very clear. Yes, our mission, we have brick and mortar facilities. Yes, we have that. But our mission is to support the warfighter. We cannot, and we cannot negate or lose sight on the Combat Support Agency mission. We have made strategic investments in our blood program, joint trauma system, research, and medical logistics, and we'll continue to do so. That will be one of our primary focal points for the next 2 years is to make sure our combat support agency is supported and supporting the warfighter, and we'll continue to do that. The last thing that I'll tell you, I'm not sure the last thing that I'll tell you is policies. And every place that I go, I will always ask, if there's policies that are in place right now that prevent us from doing what we're supposed to be doing, or if we're taking care of our patients, then let me know that and let's cancel them. If the policies are stupid, let's get rid of them. If we need new policies, let's do that. I heard a lot, Mr. Bass, we need policies in this and we need policies in that. Okay, we'll take that back. But more importantly, if there's policies that just don't make sense, and they're legacy policies, then let me know, and so we will get rid of those policies. And I'll close by saying this. You cannot separate lethality, medical capability from medical readiness. You have to have medical readiness to support lethality and military capability. And our job in this room over the next couple of days is not to talk about the future of military medicine. Your job over the next 2 days is to shape the future of military medicine. And it can only be done by the people in this room. So I'll say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for taking care of our military members, our war fighters. Thank you for what you do every day. And thank you for what you're gonna do for us over the next 2 years. Okay, we'll go to questions.
All right, sir. Thank you. Okay, we've got quite a few questions rolling in, and I see some of them were duplicated because we didn't get to them with Mr. Tata. So now is your chance.
Good.
So first one, and I'll chunk some of these together. Civilian hospitals are offering significantly higher pay than Department of War, civilian medical positions. Has anyone heard this before? Okay. Both for clinical staff and medical administration. What steps are we taking to implement changes to the hiring process and pay scales in order to prevent the wage gap and further loss?
Yeah, that's a great question, and thank you for that. When I was at the VA, I'm not putting this out there, but I guess I am. But when I was at the VA, most of my clinicians, where do you think they came from? In DOW. Yeah, and we were like, yes, this is awesome. Because I had authorities, I had Title 38 and Title 5 authorities to provide retention and recruiting bonuses and to bring people on board. And I will tell you that the hospital, civilian hospital down the street, they were offering our nurses $50,000 sign-on bonus, and they could be working in 2 weeks. They could hire my nurse out of the VA in 2 weeks and have them give them $50,000 sign-on bonuses. We can't compete with that. Our salaries is just not on the same par. So how do we fix that? Obviously, we have been working very closely with our congressional partners to look at what authorities we do have. We think we have our authorities that we need. We're doing market pay research to make sure that what we're paying our clinicians are at the right level, competitive to the market that they're working in. And we want to make sure that when we bring these folks on board, that not only is the pay, but even are we giving them the right training? Is it the right quality of life? What are those things that we can do outside of the pay structure that can help mitigate those differences? So we have several legislative proposals that have been drafted to help incentivize and make sure that our folks, not just our clinicians, our nurses, but also our medics and our enlisted force are on par with the civilian sector so that we not only can recruit them, but the key piece of this too is what we cannot lose sight of is retention. We have to, once we do the hard work of getting these professionals on board, we have to retain them. And that, the first part's not gonna work without the second part. So we're gonna continue to work on that.
All right, sir.
Hey, sir.
And along that same line.
Hey, can I interrupt?
Oh, there she is.
All right, ma'am.
Okay, I missed you.
I got you. Yeah, no, sir, I never disappoint. And by the way, thank you for using the word clinician, much preferred, and I appreciate that very much. So you mentioned civilian partnerships, and we've talked about readiness, and we know that we need those relationships. Most MTFs are kind of flying blind as far as figuring out who to start an agreement with, what they should be asking for, like kind of how to navigate TAAs, MOUs, and all that in order to, one, get the readiness reps that we need, and two, create relationships for home station, contingency medical response. Is there any appetite for creating a central cell to help guide everyone through? Because I know they review the TAAs, but I'm talking about how do you look at a local hospital to see what should I be asking for, what capabilities, how do I evaluate whether this is a value-added proposition? I feel like a lot of us kind of figure it out on the fly. It would be nice if there was headquarters guidance for that.
And I've heard that, great comment by the way, I've heard that several times, and so I'll tell you what, let me take that back and let me take that for action, and I appreciate that. Yeah, because if you hear it a couple times, there's something there, and you're right, we don't want people trying to fumble their way through, trying to figure this thing out. We got to make it easier. I agree. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. Perfect. Let's see. There's a question about the MTFs being now aligned under DHA. Will Army Medical Center or any other service-related title be removed from the MTFs situated on Army or joint installations in alignment with other service naming nomenclature?
Yeah, okay. So the question is, if we have certain facilities, and are we going to rename some facilities and take the service specific off of that? Is that the gist of it here?
Yes.
Yeah. Listen, full transparency, I've heard that several times over the last couple of months. It's just discussion. It's not even discussion. It's just rumor, and there's no plans in place to do that at this point. I sat in several meetings. It's been discussed, but there's nothing solid on that.
All right.
We need to focus on healthcare.
Yes, sir.
I'll just be honest with you. We just need to focus on healthcare. I'm not worried about name changes. Okay, I'm done here. I got a couple of claps, so yeah.
You got 4 more minutes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, listen, I'm a cheap speaker. If I get 2 claps, I'm out. I'm happy with 2, so yeah.
We've got a gentleman.
Hi, my name's Eric Hawley. I represent Prime Physicians. I'm a prime contractor on the DHA MQS2 NG vehicle, which is a $45 billion staffing augmentation IDIQ. And I have a question with regard to staffing. In human capital, we see the Air Force has an expedited onboarding process with regard to security and credentialing and whatnot. We're not seeing that across the board. So for an example, in the Navy, it's taking 6 months or longer to onboard physicians. And with human capital, that's an incredible amount of time. I don't think that the Air Force patients are any more important than the Navy or the Army patients, but the Air Force seems to do it right with regard to that expedited security. Is there any thinking about that so that we've heard from a colonel at Edwards Air Force Base regarding staffing, we've heard from other leaders at MTFs regarding that. Is DHA looking at doing that? Because I know I've asked that question at conference after conference with regard to the prior vehicle, MQS, and whatnot, but it is an extremely long process to onboard a clinician, and we're competing against the private sector to do that.
Yeah, spot on, absolutely, and I agree with you, and I share the frustration with, the question was, is there any way that we can do, credentialing and privileging is a very lengthy process, and the security pieces of it, and the whole process is when we onboard or we select or we hire these highly valuable clinicians, and it takes us 6 or 7 months to get them through that hiring pipeline. Listen, sometimes we lose them because the civilian sector could do it a lot faster, and we went through all this process, and we can't get them on faster because it took 4 months to get a urinalysis and to go through all the paperwork and do all the onboarding stuff. And then we get them onboarded, and then they have to sit there and they're not getting their MHS Genesis, login and everything else. So are we looking at how can we expedite that process? Yes. Right, Darren? We are looking at that, right? Okay, yes. So we are looking at that. That is, if we're not, we will be. here pretty quickly because we have to do a better job across the board. We're in direct competition with the civilian sector. We're in direct competition with our other federal agencies. And right now, we're not doing that well. We're not doing that well. And we're talking about the most important resource that we got, which is people. And we got to do a better job. We must do a better job there. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Our last question.
Morning, sir.
Hey,
nice
good
to
morning.
see you again. Sally Boza from Naval Health Clinic, Hawaii. Just taking the opportunity to follow up on the mobile dental units as well as the mobile occupational hearing conservation. Those are my two best customer delivery systems for the warfighters to sustain their readiness, sir. And so when you toured Hawaii, I did show you my dilapidated transportation vehicles, and just wanted to take the opportunity for follow-up with regards to funding and, yes,
Okay.
publicly following up, sir.
Yeah. Is there another question? What was, I missed, I don't want to cheapen the experience, but I missed the last piece of that. What was it?
Mobile dental vans are being addressed by the service to determine how many we need. EHA intends to continue to support at a limited requirement. As far as MOCATs, we're also looking at other capabilities because we have technology that does not require MOCATs. Gotcha, sir.
Strong work, Admiral Vai. Strong work.
Follow up afterwards if you need anything.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
He'll be here all week. Yeah, so.
People and funding, yes.
Yeah, and that's VIA, V-I-A. Yeah. First name Admiral.
Yeah. All right, sir. That was it for the questions. Do
Okay.
you have any final?
No, hey, again, enjoy your time here. There's a lot of billable hours in this room right now, but this is an investment in you. This is an investment in our patients, and this is an investment in the MHS. So thank you for being here, and again, thank you for what you're doing.